Welcome viewers to the Catholic Television Network. It's good to be back. We had a long break, and today we have a very special program to you. I am your host, Bernadette Patrick, for the Catholic Voice. Today we have two beautiful, talented women in our studio, and they're going to speak to us about Catholic Charities. Welcome to the Executive Director, Mrs. Andrea Shillingford, and the Assistant to the Executive Director, Mrs. Sandra Thomas Mason. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick.
I must say, you have lit up the studio. You look so beautiful.
Thank you.
And today we have this special edition highlighting Catholic Charities. As you know, Catholic Charities is under the Diocese of St. Thomas and under our Bishop, His Excellency, Bishop Jerome Feudjio. So we thank him for all that he has done to facilitate the Catholic Charities in St. Thomas and this program, The Catholic Voice, which is his brainchild. So as we begin, Mrs. Shillingford, can you tell us about the mission of Catholic Charities? You know, it's a household name. People will say Catholic Charities all the time, but we really don't know the key services that you provide to the communities in the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. The mission of Catholic Charities is really to proclaim the Lord by the work that we do, through the work that we do. And we do so by using our gifts and talents for the glory of God. And when I say this, we provide the services needed to the hungry and homeless, to allow them to be able to live with dignity, and to allow them to be able to, shall I say, not be hungry. We try as much as possible to provide at least one solid meal per day throughout the territory. I think we do at least 500 meals per day. And we provide nights of shelter. In one facility, it is 11, and in another facility, we provide between 21 and 30 nights of shelter daily. So basically, that is what we do. We will talk a little more about the other programs as we go along.
So tell me something, Mrs. Shillingford. Tell us a little bit about you. Who is Mrs. Andrea Shillingford, and what led you and, attracted you to Catholic Charities? Because you just said a real big mission for a petite woman like you.
It's always, I always smile and laugh when people ask me that question. What attracted me to Catholic Charities? I think I've lived Catholic Charities throughout my life. I have learned Catholic Charities from my family, from my community. I am Dominican, and I was raised in a family that was, I would say, multi-religion. My mother was Methodist, my father was Catholic, but he ensured that his children were raised Catholic. We lived very close to the church, so we didn't have a choice. And everything we had to be at church. And even if he didn't go himself very often, he would ensure that we went to church and we learned what the Catholic Church was all about. And through him, through our parents, we learned what it is to serve. And I also attended a Catholic high school where I lived in a Catholic hostel with 40 Catholic girls right next in a facility which was located right next to the cathedral in Dominica. So And being at the Catholic high school, living at the Catholic hostel, we had to serve. It was something that we just had to do. And I always tell them, one of the rules of the hostel was that, in those days, everybody did not have a television. You had to go to matinee or cinema. We were not allowed to go to cinema. We could go to the matinee in the afternoons. We were allowed to go to matinee once a month. And if you did not attend Mass on any Sunday, you lost that privilege. We had to take care of the sacristy. We went to visit the sick. I remember in those days in Dominica, there was a leper home still. And one of the things that we did was to visit the lepers, and we were well protected. But one of the things that stayed with me was the fact that as a Catholic schoolgirl living at the hostel while we visited the sick, one of the things that always stayed with me was the fact that we had to visit the leper home.
What I'm thinking is that you have been well prepared spiritually and in the environment in which you came from for this call, for this ministry to serve in the Virgin Islands. What a privilege to have a woman of God like you who would have said yes, and God would have prepared you for such a time like this. It is good to hear this, Mrs. Shillingford. And we have next to you Mrs. Sandra Thomas Mason. And before we go on further to talk about our special Catholic Charities Week, tell us a little bit about yourself, Mrs. Sandra Thomas Mason. We know your position, but what is your drive? What is your drive in Catholic Charities? What gives you the go? What gives you, the zeal to get up and go? Mrs. Shillingford has explained that, it's serving the poor on the 3 islands. You're among the homeless and stuff. It could be a hopeless situation. What gives you the drive and the zeal to get up every morning and say, I'm going to Catholic Charities to serve?
Well, when it first started for me, like Missioner Ford said, my beginning started at a Catholic school as well, St. Peter and Paul School here in the territory, here in St. Thomas. And I decided that when I was in 11th grade, I would go into a class named Social Justice. Never knew what social justice would have done for me, but I decided to go ahead and do the social justice class, which took us out into the community to see how people live. We started to donate our services to different nonprofit agencies that would help those individuals that were homeless or that was in need. And that's what started to open my eyes. And when I left government, I was like, well, I needed to do something that would be bring value to somebody's life. And it led me here. It led me here to Catholic Charities, and it gives me great joy to see when we can actually help individuals that come to us that are really suffering, that really needs help, but really don't have that support. And when we can offer that support and help push them a little, and then you see them just bloom into something awesome, you get so much joy. So it always brings you joy every day to watch the progress of the clients.
Yes, and we see that you yourself have your background and your experience that you have brought on the table to Catholic Charities. What I see here is 2 women leading at the hem of Catholic Charities, and His Excellency Bishop Jerome entrusting this institution to these 2 women. And, women, we have that gift of receptivity to bring life into the world. And that's a special gift that we have as women, our femininity. And we see here that we have 2 women of God, 2 women who have a background in the ministry of taking care of the homeless, of reaching out to those who are less fortunate. two women who have a call from deep within. And I think that is important because sometimes we could get tired and fed up of a job. But what we are hearing from these two women is that they have a call from within. And I'm very, very happy that for their yes to this ministry. And so as we have heard a little bit about them, you know now who is at the leadership of Catholic Charities. And we know that Catholic Charities then is in good hands. It's coming from God himself and from very experienced and intelligent women. And so we move now into a little more Miss Shillingford, and you could probably start it off. We have a special week. And this is why this program is special. And it is Catholic Charities Week. And, you know, Mrs. Shillingford highlighted to the current state of hunger and homelessness in the Virgin Islands. And we want you to share a little bit about what is Catholic Charities Week and, you know, what are some of the challenges that, you know, you have to address.
Okay, thank you, Miss Bernadette Patrick. Thank you. Catholic Charities Week. The Bishop has proclaimed this week Catholic Charities Week. And I must say, Bishop Jerome Feudjio is one of our, and has always been, even before he was the bishop, has always been our biggest support. And for that we thank him, because he has really pushed and he continues to push and advocate for Catholic charities. This week, Catholic Charities Week, the goal of this week is to create a greater awareness of Catholic charities and what we do, because you may be surprised to know, even among the Catholics within the territory, the number of people who don't know, they may know the name Catholic Charities, but they don't know us. They don't know what we do. They're not aware of the services that we provide. They're not aware of where we are located. They're not aware that Catholic Charities is actually a ministry of the Diocese of St. Thomas. We are the charitable ministry of the church. We are the face of the diocese. When we go out there, when people think about the Catholic Church, the first thing they think about is charity. What does the church do for the poor? And the church provides charity, assistance to the poor, the less fortunate, through Catholic Charities. The many programs that we have, supported by the church, supported by the local government, supported by the federal government, but most of our support comes through the church. We provide, we're not just food and shelter. We don't just provide meals and a night of shelter. I'm sure a lot of people are not aware that we run the only medical clinic in St. Thomas, which serves St. Thomas and St. John, that serves only the homeless population. And the reason we do that is, the reason that clinic was started is because our clientele had a lot of difficulties when they would go to the emergency room. So now the doctors have some of the doctors have decided to donate their time, and it's the second Saturday of every month, and that clinic has been running, I think, since 2015, and it's been doing, it has been growing, and you see a lot of less people having to go to the emergency room for just the basic blood check, pressure, to check their pressure. You see a lot of less people going there because our clients can come to us and they get that service free once a month. And if any of the clients need any further attention, they are referred to some of the best doctors on the island. We also provide, when you see our vehicles out there, we have our case managers who are providing sometimes counseling, sometimes just a person to talk to. We provide rental assistance to people to prevent homelessness. We provide anything else that I forgot?
You spoke about outreach, but did you speak about just soup kitchens? And
we have a soup kitchen on each island, and the soup kitchen on St. Thomas and St. John, St. Croix, we provide those daily meals for our clients to prevent them. And I mean, we do it because it's what God has called us to do. It's a mission that God has called us to do this. As he said, whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me. And we understand that it's really God asking us to do this. And Miss Mason, you know, sometimes you wake up in the morning and, you know, we refer to the clients as our peeps. These are our people. These are the people that we can call on. These are the people they call on you, they need assistance, and you have to be ready to assist. And, you know, one of the things I always tell people, this is not a job that you can do for a paycheck. This has to be a call-in. To work in an agency like this, you have to be called to do it, and you have to be ready to answer that call. If you're not ready to answer that call, then this is not the place where you would survive. So,
yes, this is such a mouthful. So we see that Catholic Charities not only feed persons who are hungry on a daily basis on our 3 islands, but they also, you know, what's news for me is the medical facility that is available. I always wondered about, you know, those people who cannot who cannot afford to go to the hospital or a medical institution. So again, that is every second Saturday of the month. And could you tell us, Ms. Shillingford, where is that medical clinic?
It's at Bethlehem House.
Right.
In Hospital Ground.
On Hospital Ground. So every second Saturday of every month at Bethlehem House on Hospital Ground. You can go there. This is the best kept secret. I think Catholic Charities, a lot of the things they are doing, it's a best kept secret, but now we are bringing out that secret. We are bringing out to you the good work that Catholic Charities is doing, but also to let you know so that you can tell someone or avail yourself to the services that are being offered. And it's part, as Mr. Shillingford said, of our faith. Faith, hope, and charity, that love that we have for each other. Even today's gospel reading from Mass talks about loving one another, loving not only those that it's easy to love, but those that may be difficult. As Mr. Shillingford said, sometimes you get up in the morning, you know you have to love those that it will be difficult to love, who are homeless, who are burdened. So thank you for sharing and bringing that to light. So, Mrs. Thompson Mason, could you tell us a little bit about the activities for Catholic Charities Week? We want to gear up our viewers to see that, okay, on a daily basis, this is what you do. You know, you provide this, and it's an arm of the church, and it is our spirituality pulls us into making sure that we contribute. And many of us just know about contributing a tin, dry foods or stuff. But now we realize that there's much more, and we'll come to that soon. But let's now get excited. Hold on to your seat. Let's hear what is happening for Catholic Charities Week. Mrs. Mason.
Okay, for Catholic Charities Week, we're very excited. We're excited to inform the community on all the things that we do and much, much, much more, right? So during Catholic school, see, I'm going back to my Catholic school.
Yes, Catholic to the bone.
So during Catholic Charities Week, we will be bringing out, and I know people have heard about us working with our partner agency, Housing Finance Authority, to receive a mobile shower and laundry truck. And we will be bringing that out, actually putting it out on the road.
Drum roll!
Yes, finally out on the road that week. It's really exciting. We hope that a lot of our individuals on the street and homeless would be able to use the facility and get a lot out of that. We'll also be continuing our services, serving our lunches throughout the week. We will be doing more awareness programs. We will try to get onto the media, let people know about our services, know what we're doing. We're going to have a special day that we're going to just be reaching out to our clients, having a fun day, taking our pictures, having them relax, learning a little more about them on the personal level, right? Not just coming in and doing your intake process and filling out your forms, but actually getting to know that person and spending a little time with them. So we'll be doing that, at our locations as well as when we're going out and outreach. So that week will be really an exciting week to, learn a little more about our clients and stuff like that. We also would be having our food drives. Our food drives would be more at the end of the week, though. The Friday of our week, we would be at several locations, which would be Price Mart,
all the major supermarkets,
the major ones, Pueblo, Cost You Less, and that's the Friday. But then on the Saturday, we will not be at Cost You Less, but we would be at the other major shopping sites. And we encourage everyone to, while they're shopping and they're thinking about themselves during this thankful time, be thankful. Not only thankful, but be giving, right?
Yes.
It's Thanksgiving. So we're going to be thankful for life and all that God has blessed us with, but we also want to be able to bless others with some of the blessings that we have received. So as you shop, as you go through the lanes and you see little turkey, we take Vienna sausage too. But you see little things that you think that we can use for our kitchen, we are happy to receive it. So please, as you go out to shop during the season, just drop off a little. And it doesn't end at this point, okay? The food drive is just something major for us around this time, and it's within our week. But we encourage everybody to please help us. Our food kitchen, our soup kitchens, I should say, they need the help. We feed 500 people a day, and it's costly to do so. So we're just asking everyone during that time as well to give and give with your heart and be thankful.
So this is really an excitement in terms of the Catholic Charities Department, and for you to jump on board and to start giving. What I think Mrs. Mason is also addressing is that, sometimes we think we have to give in cash, but you can give in kind. Go through your cupboards. You might have some very good, not expired stuff at home, and that can go a long way in probably feeding 2 or 3 persons. And it's a drop in the bucket, and the more drops we have, then we can have an ocean. So this is a visibility for Catholic Charities. Tell us, are you going to be at the churches also this weekend of the 16th and 17th of November? Tell us about that visibility.
Yes, we're going to be at the churches on the 17th, which starts off the Catholic Charities Week. Of course, as Catholics, we know that we need to start it off the right way.
With God.
Right?
Putting God first.
Correct. So we're going to start off with participating in the services around the territory. And we will be making our announcements and talking a little bit more to the congregations, right?
Yes.
About what Catholic Charity is and what we're here doing for that special week. So, yes, we will be at the churches.
We will be... The priest will read the proclamation, but we will be outside the churches.
Yes.
To answer any questions that people have about Catholic Charities, and we will also be available to receive any donations that they want to make at that time. So you, at all the masses, there will be somebody, a member of staff present to outside to answer after the mass, to answer any questions you may have, clarify anything about Catholic Charities that people want clarified, and to receive donations.
Excellent. So look out for the purple t-shirts, the smiling faces. You're going to meet the people behind the word Catholic Charities, and they're going to come full with information on ways that you can give, ways you can participate. You know, as Mrs. Schillenfeld read the mission, all hands need to be on board in terms of serving the community. We owe it to the community of the Virgin Islands. This is our home. This is the place where we live. When we walk on the street, when we go anywhere, we don't want to see the homelessness. We don't want to see the hunger. Make a step forward and let's, remove this intensity or this amount of homelessness. So let's make a difference through this arm. What opportunities are there for members of the community? We talked about Catholic Charities Week. We talk about how we feed people, and somebody sitting at the end of their chair right now looking on, and they want to know how they can get involved in supporting your work at Catholic Charities during the Catholic Charities Week and beyond. How could this person listening now and hearing more about Catholic Charities and saying, I want to contribute, what could I do to be part of this great mission that you have?
We are always open to volunteers and to come in to assist, because sometimes it can get very stressful for the staff, especially in the kitchens and on the outreach. We are always open to volunteers. So people can come in and volunteer. For example, if there's a church group on a Saturday, because we serve Monday to Friday, except at the Bethlehem House, where it's 7 days per week. We serve Monday to Friday. So if there's a church group that would be willing to say on a Saturday, we are willing as a group, as a ministry of the church, to come into the soup kitchen and cook a meal that the clients can have something on Saturdays, that would be really welcome. Also, if on a Sunday, anyone, while you prepare your meals on a Sunday, just do 2 extra plates and drop it off at Bethlehem House. That will help. Also, as I said, we are open to donations, especially financially, because most of our grants allow for the services and we have the operations to run. So we are open to that. And we are always open to suggestions if people think of any ways that we can do things differently, or we can do things to make our services better, to improve on the services that we provide. We are also open to that.
Amen. So we just make sure, if you are wanting to do a check, and we're going to be out there too, just payable to Catholic Charities of the Virgin Islands. Drop it off any parish, anywhere, it's going to get to us, because we are all one church and one body. Can you tell us,
they can also do it on the website.
All right, yes, we also have the website.
Catholic
yes.
Charities VI, www.catholiccharities.vi.org. You can always make donations on the website.
Great. And we're going to have that coming up on the screen, the website that will lead you. As we wrap up this interview, can you just tell us one testimony, either of you, that would have, hit you in terms of serving at Catholic Charities, some moment, impactful moment that demonstrate how Catholic Charities has made a difference in the lives of those facing hunger and homelessness?
There are just so many. And it's people out there would not understand on a daily basis. There are just so many lives that have been impacted by Catholic Charities. But I will just talk about one without mentioning the name. This gentleman, he was really, literally homeless, lived out there on the streets, and he would come to the soup kitchen for lunch every day. And then he started coming in. In the mornings, he would come, he would volunteer to come in to assist us with like distributing clothes when people come for clothes, and people come, they want a drink of water, or they're hungry, to ask this person is here and they need that. He started volunteering to come in. And I remember someone said to me, saw him there and said to me, Miss Shillingford, you know he's a time bomb. I said, no, and looking at him, there's a lot of, you could see that there was a lot of good within him. And right now, he's one of our employees. We took him through the process. He was volunteering, and then we started giving him a little stipend, and we kept working with him. I mean, Miss Mason knows we worked with him. Whenever there was any little issue, we worked with him. And because we could see the good in him, and right now he is on our payroll. We have assisted him through one of the programs with one of our partners, VIHFA, assisted him with getting permanent housing. So he's now in his own apartment with his own key to open his door and go in. You know what that does to a person's dignity? And he comes into work every day religiously. And one of the things that
on time,
yes.
Very timely.
And if we say, you know what, this Sunday we're going to Mass at Holy Family, or we're going to Mass on St. John, he is there before everybody else. You know, so that is one of our, he's not the only one that we have taken through that process. There are several others on our staff who were Catholic Charities clients, but we work with them. We look at them, and you know, you can see that there's, even if the person has their issues, you look beyond the issues and see the person the way that they could be, not the way that the person is at the time. And oh God, just talking about it is just so, you know, it's one of the things that makes you want to get up in the morning and go to work. Because you know there's somebody out there waiting. There's somebody out there just waiting for somebody to say, you know what? I accept you the way you are because I see Christ in you. You know, so we just have so many stories that we could tell. And maybe your next program on Catholic Charities, we could bring in some of our clients to talk about what Catholic Charities has done. And you know, it sometimes you go out there and you hear this person say, if it wasn't for Catholic Charities, I wouldn't be where I am today. And we know, so maybe your next program we can.
I like that. I was hoping that you would say that. You see, when we are coming out, we realize how much we have to contribute, and it's really a blessing to give a testimony. We know that when people encounter Jesus Christ in the New Testament, they will always go and tell of the goodness that the Lord has done. And as I listened to Mrs. Shillingford's testimony about this person, the agency is actually living out the mission she described. in seeing the dignity in every person. A person who feels they have lost their dignity and bringing them to a point where they have an awareness of their dignity, taking away any inferiority complex or anything that they may feel. And so this is a real example of what she shared as the mission of Catholic Charities. Also too, as she began to get emotional and really get into what, because she puts her total self in a job. I remember her saying it's not about the paycheck, but it's about the inner satisfaction that you get in yourself, that you have served. And there's a great joy and blessing beyond this world when we serve like this. So, especially Catholics out there, we have an opportunity to be blessed in our lives, because when we give, God gives back to us 100-fold. As we see these two women look so happy and so joyful. And so as we wrap up, Mrs. Mason, do you have any closing remarks, anything that you want to say, that you want to get people involved, anything you want to say to our viewers? And this will be followed by Mrs. Shillingford closing remarks. But what do you want to say to our viewers? Anything at all. Could be a testimony, could be something that you want our viewers to hear, that you think that they don't know about Catholic Charities. And also to your involvement in Catholic Charities, what that has brought to you, and how are you being used as a conduit of this grace and this call that you have received?
Well, my message today is just to encourage the people of the territory, Catholics and all, that, just giving of yourself is just an awesome thing. We all know that sometimes we feel that there is no purpose. We don't have a purpose, but we all have a purpose. And sometimes I always learned that, and was always told, that the quieter you are, you always hear, right? So I always try to be a little quiet and listen to God and how I need to move and make my place in this world, right? So I encourage all to do the same and ask for the grace and the patience. But also at Catholic Charities, we need your help. We need help from everyone, because we're helping the less fortunate. And I am hoping that with this recording, that it reaches many homes and it reaches to individuals, and within their hearts they decide to come out, volunteer, come out and help. Even if you see someone in the road that may need help, or maybe living right next to you that may need help but might not be willing to come into our office, you as a concerned citizen can reach out to us and refer, and maybe we can also, go and look at these individuals. But I honestly hope that we see a lot more of our Catholics getting a little more involved with the Catholic Charities, a charitable part of the church. And I look forward to seeing many, many, many more new faces. Like Missionary Ford has said, we sit there, we have seen so many clients come in and have grown, and we have employed many of them as well. Some have moved on, some are still with us, but we continue to see them grow, and we're excited, and we know that we're going to be here for a long time. Catholic Charities is not going anywhere. We will be here to serve the community for a long, long time.
Amen.
Yeah, and thanks. Sorry, Missionary Ford, but also I would like to thank all of those individuals who have already contributed and continue to contribute to Catholic Charities. Thank you.
And I think, as you said, to wrap it up, Miss Patrick, one of the things that people don't know and a lot of people are not aware of is that when anybody comes to our doors, we don't see religion, we don't see color, we don't see race. We see a child of God. We never ask you, Are you from St. Thomas? Are you local? Are you from Dominica? Are you from Haiti? We don't have to ask that question. We see a child of God. We don't ask you, what religion are you? We never ask about religion. We serve anybody who is in need, regardless of race, color, religion, orientations. We serve the children of God. And anybody who comes to our doors, we see you. First thing we see is Christ in you.
Amen.
And we serve you. Because it takes a lot, as I always say, it takes a lot to come to the doors of Catholic Charities and say, I need help. Or to stand in the line for a plate of food. So when somebody does that, you know that the person is really in need, whether the person is red, yellow, black, blue, is a child of God. We serve everybody, regardless, as I said, of race, color, origin, orientation. We serve everybody. We are called to serve. And as Miss Mason said, we thank all those who have already contributed, and we will thank all those I know who are going to be called, all those who are going to be touched by this, all those who I know will at this time. And I know there are several people who are already pulling out their checkbooks. So we will continue to thank you, because without your assistance, we could not do this. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Mrs. Andrea Shillingford and Mrs. Sandra Thomas Mason, for not only seeing this as a job, but first of all, I wish to really sincerely thank you for sharing about you, who you are, and your testimony. So now the viewers and people of the church and the community know who you are, that you didn't just have a CV and was put into a job, but you have a spiritual upbringing, you have an openness to reach everyone, you have a spirit of generosity, a spirit of care, and a call to serve. So this is not about your CV or a paycheck. Thank you for sharing about yourself, and thank you for sharing in a wider context about Catholic Charities, and sharing in a way that didn't come from an outline but from your heart of what you actually experience and what you actually do. And so we thank you very much for this coming to the studio of the Catholic Television Network and being a Catholic voice to those who are out there. And we're definitely going to take you up on that second program. Thank you, viewers, for being there and listening to this program. And we will see you next time. And look out for some other things that will be coming at the Catholic Voice. But definitely part 2 of Catholic Charities. You have a good one. And don't forget to go to Mass this weekend.